everybody give Mr. Coach Reni Mason a round of applause. Coach, how you doing today?
Doing good, doing good. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, welcome to the Leadership Factory podcast, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
Coach, we're about to have a great conversation on how to inspire people.
Well, looking forward to sharing with you. Doesn't seem like we've been apart so long, but it's been over a decade, man.
Been a decade. That is scary. Just to review for our listeners, hey, get a piece of paper and a pen, because Coach Mason is going to drop a lot of wisdom. I guarantee he's going to drop a lot of wisdom, and you need to be picking up at least 3 things that we've talked about today that can catapult you forward in your inspirational leadership journey. While you're going to get one thing, the domino effect, where if you can grab a hold of one thing that makes you an effective leader, what's that one thing that can inspire everybody to grow, which will give you more teammate satisfaction, customer satisfaction, and the ability to earn more money and help your company make more money. What is that one thing that you got from Mr. Mason today in this conversation that's going to help you in your inspirational leadership future? So if we're all ready to go, let's start this party. You ready, Coach?
Let's go.
Out of the gate, Coach, my favorite question: who is your best leader and why? Who is your best leader and why?
Well, the reality of it is, in my life, my mom has been my best leader. She shared with me the blueprint to life. First and foremost, she introduced me to a man named Jesus. And in introducing Jesus to me, there's so many parallels to his life, to the way we want to live our life. And so that's the blueprint. My mother, how she lives her life, how she goes sharing things with other people, how she puts other people before herself. That is my ultimate model.
And I'm sure that was easy for you to get that behavior out of you.
Well, I think not. Literally, I think her consistency in modeling who Jesus was allowed me to understand that it just doesn't happen overnight. So it allowed me to tailor my personality to what Jesus' personality was, to try to blueprint it into my habits every day. Sometimes as we go through life, there are things that create things that are not good because of what our surroundings are. But having been introduced to Jesus and watching my mother live out the things that Jesus would like for us to do, it always gave me a place to springboard back to. And so as I live my life even today, it's not that I'm perfect, but I try to be faithful to what Jesus has called us to do. And whenever I screw up, I just jump back on the horse, because Jesus is always there to receive me.
That's good. That's good. That's good. So what are some things that she did for you when you were not going in the right path? How did she inspire you to get back on the right path?
I'll go back to the word consistency. We knew every Sunday we were going to church. I knew every day she was going to get up and go to work. I knew she was going to try to do the best she could every day. And when I had slippage in my life, she would always refer this one question to me: have you done your best? And this is the caveat. She would never want me to answer the question to her. She would want me to answer the question to myself.
Have you done your best?
Have you done your best? And see, I'm a firm believer. People say all the time, you can lie to yourself long enough and you'll believe it. I don't believe that. I don't believe you can ever lie to yourself. You always know the truth. You know the truth within yourself if you've done those things that you need to do. And so that's the one question that she would always give me: have you done your best? And let's say I failed. She would teach me not to be afraid of failure, that's a part of it, and take ownership in how I failed and the reasons I failed, and try not to repeat those behaviors.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So what's one of your favorite lessons that she taught you? Because I call it win through adversity, WTA, because that is a powerful tool to give people. And Kobe Bryant, he said a lot of great things, and which I had mixed emotions about him when he passed away, but I did my own research on it, and I found that he found his purpose in life.
Yes. Yes.
And, he found his, which is his family. It used to be about a sport, but he found something greater than him playing basketball. That was his internal value that he found. But
Yeah.
one of the things that he said that his dad said to him, he said, you can score 100 points or you score 0 points. You're my son. So go out and be the very best version of you. Don't worry about the results of that. You just worry
That's
about
right.
being the best you.
And I
So
and I
how have you
think
parlayed that in your life?
I think for me, it's always it grew to be about the work and not the results. So oftentimes people worry about the resources or what comes with the work and not enjoying the work. Early in my life, I was a good athlete. Things came easy to me. My father and my mother would both share with me that at some point, rubber's going to meet the road where there's going to be someone just as good as you are or better. And then the work will do the separating. And so there was a season in my life where I wasn't the best at what I thought I was the best at. And what am I going to do? Am I going to tuck my tail? Am I going to carve it in? And I just remember this. My dad would say, just go to work and stop measuring yourself by someone to the right, measuring someone to the left. Again, do the best you can, work as hard as you can, and then have a measuring stick. And so I've tried to keep that in my life. I'll be very blunt with you. I sit in a position here at this institution as the vice president of intercollegiate athletics. I sit at the table with people with PhDs and multiple degrees. I don't have any of that, but I work. And I think the good Lord has honored me in that. And so it's allowed me to go in places that on paper I probably shouldn't be.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Coach. Give us a quick rundown where you played intercollegiate basketball at in NCAA.
I played at Louisiana Tech University for 2 years where we played in the NIT and the NC2A tournament. I was recruited there by the late Tommy Joe Eagles. I left there in 92, 93 and went to the University of New Orleans and played for Tim Floyd. We had some success there. I played in an NIT and an NC2A tournament team. I think it was 92, 93. We were ranked as high as 16th in the country and immediately went into coaching. I was just a young guy, about 23, 24 years old. Really, to be honest, did not know what I wanted to do in life, but knew I wanted to stay around the game. And this game, everything that I've been able to accomplish in my life, people that I think I've been able to influence or the influences that have come to me in my young adult life and in my middle age has come from the gift of athletics. And so I'm grateful for that. I've had a kind of different journey than most people. I tell this story and people don't think it's true, but I've coached in Division I, I've coached in Division II, I've coached in NAIA, I've coached in Division III, I've coached in semi-pro, I've coached in high school. So I've coached the gamut. And through all of that, what I've realized is people are people. Mm-hmm. And what you give people is what you can expect in return. And I've always chosen to believe the best in people. And sometimes that has been self-serving because I've wanted people to always believe the best in me when I failed. And so I've tried to give what I've wanted to receive.
Coach, that right there, that statement, I see the best in people, because I just had a call with one of my coaching clients, a VP of HR, and we were talking about finding good leaders, because you got to me, that maybe the number one ingredient is what you said, that they see value in people.
That's right.
If you're trying to get somebody to do something they can't do by themselves, if they feel, not that you told them or didn't tell them, if they feel like you don't believe in them, they feel like you don't care about them, they're not going to take that journey. They're going to shut down.
That's right. That's right.
You're just going to. So if you come out into a leadership role and you don't believe in people, why are you here? It's sort of like a school teacher doesn't like kids, but they want to be a school teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So like, why would you want to do that? You got to, if you're a leader, the first step that you got to take is I see value in people.
Right, right.
And I've known you and I watched you coach my kids. You see value in every person.
Yes.
And you know, and it's very frustrating when you care about someone more than they care about themselves. Mm-hmm. So tell me, how do you deal when you love someone so much and you see so much good in them, but they just can't see it? How do you manage that frustration?
I think when I look back over it, you have to be introspective. There have been times where people have seen things in me that maybe I hadn't seen, and they didn't give up. And so I've got to kind of bottle my frustrations and deal with it within myself, as opposed to exposing it to the individual that's struggling. because most people know when they're failing. And so they're trying to find a way to get out of it. And to be honest, as I look back over my career, I can't tell you how many phone calls I get with former players in distress about the real life. And they just want to be loved. They want to be understood. And then you've got to be transparent. You got to be able to share your hurts, your pains, and somewhere, somehow, when you share that you've been down that road with the individual that's hurting, your frustration wanes away because it goes back to people.
All right. Say what you said again. Everybody needs to hear that. This is somebody's domino effect.
Somewhere, somehow, when you can share your struggle, it eliminates the frustration because now it's about helping people become better through your pain. It's important when you're helping young people or young adults or businesses grow that someone needs to be able to clearly say, hey, I've been there before.
Right, that's good.
So you don't feel lonely.
Oh,
you know,
right.
when you're losing, it can get lonely.
Oh, that's right.
But every now and then, it helps when you can get a pat on the back and someone can say, I've been there, and you can see them have had to overcome what you're going through.
That's right.
And so, again, big on relationship, big on truth, big on transparency, because I make it very clear early in my tenure with new players. Coach Mason didn't just show up here one day. There's been a journey. And in that journey, there's been bumps, there's been hiccups. And so we try to just continue to go on that trek and help people.
That's good. That's good, Coach. So I appreciate you coached both of my sons in high school basketball. So we won't say which one, but you left one of them at the school one day because he was late. And
Yes,
he calls us. I think he could have been driving. I don't know. He just showed up back at home. I said, we're going to the game. She said, well, I missed the bus. I said, Coach Mason ran off and left me. I said, well, you should have been there on time.
That's right. Hey.
And he said, Dad, you were good at, we knew that you believed in us, but you were really bad at empathy. Hey, you missed the bus. It's like my dad would have told me you should have been there on time. You would have missed the bus if you'd showed up on time.
The reality, I believe, is those life lessons that help down the road, that help down the road.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I guarantee he would thank you for that right now.
Oh, there's no doubt.
In the conversation. Yeah, there's no doubt. All right, so now let's tell us about your worst leader and why.
I won't name names, but I will give you why. No one is perfect. I can demand your best effort. I can even demand perfection. But I know perfection is a farce of what we're trying to accomplish. We're trying to get as close to it as we can. And I've played for an individual that nothing was good enough. Nothing was good enough. And there's a period in my personal life where I was struggling with some personal decisions I made, and that became the focus of why he felt like I couldn't accomplish anything. And that was very disheartening for me because, again, I was already being beat up on one side on some decisions that I made in my personal life. And athletically, the one thing that I'd always been good at, he was now telling me I wasn't good at that either. And so I totally got stripped down and I never got built back up. And so in that process of not getting built back up, I'll go back to what I shared with you earlier. If I didn't know a man named Jesus, I probably could have went in a deep funk and never recovered from it. I share this even today with young people that I speak to. Oftentimes when it's the darkest, the sun is about to shine. And so I never knew the sun was coming because I was hiding things from my parents of things that weren't very successful. I had a coach that basically had fallen out of love with me and what he thought I could do for him athletically.
Mm.
And it was just a rough time. It was a rough time. And I had to find a new home.
That's good. That's good. Were you aware of this at that point in time? In case there's a young person listening to this, were you aware of that? Or someone who's got a tough leader that someone's listening where that leader doesn't believe in them? Could you see that? Or were you just, man, I'm not getting what I want? Or could you see this person just doesn't believe in me? Because when I got to that point as an executive, when the owner didn't believe it, I could feel it.
Yes.
So
yes.
it was just time for me to be very respectful and find a way out.
Well,
but I had to honor that person in the midst of him being not a good leader to me. That's his choice. My choice is to honor him, even though I don't want to honor him. I have to honor him because he's my authority. But that doesn't mean I have to stay under that tyrant.
Right.
But if you honor people, to me, in my story of life, God will open other doors for you to walk into.
Well, I had to grow to understand the importance of honoring authority. At that time, I was still an immature Christian. And so I didn't understand the value in honoring authority because of what God thought about it. And so I was just in a dark spot. And as immature as I was in that process, all I knew is this man didn't like me. That's the way I put it. And so at that point, it was flee. And not until I got out of it to look back, and he and I could have a conversation as men, that I really understand he was young and he was learning also.
Right.
And so there was some forgiveness in that, some healing in that. But at the moment, I didn't know. And so I always try to tell young people, there has to be conversation. And I have a policy in my program that anybody at any point can be a leader. So just because I am the authority in my program, it doesn't mean you as the player can't lead up. Because if I'm missing something, it's incumbent of you to share with me what's not happening for you, because I may just be totally oblivious to it. And so you can't charge me with something I don't know.
That's good. I like that, man. There has to be a conversation. I'm saying conversation solve problems. And yes. I like what you said, lead up.
Yes.
Because you have to learn. My first mentor gave me a book, How to Manage Your Boss.
Yeah.
I looked at it and I said, well, this doesn't make any sense. He just kind of looked at me. I was like, okay, I got it. Because he told me at that point, I'm 24 years old. You got to learn me.
Yeah.
I mean, I got hot buttons, cold buttons, just like you do.
Yeah.
It was a great little book. It's everything that you said there.
Yeah.
It's what's their story. Yeah. Why is he so aggravated?
Yeah.
I just got on the phone with a client, hurting people hurt people. Why is this employee he's always mad?
Yeah.
Ask the question, why do you feel that way? What's wrong? What else is wrong? When you keep asking someone what else is wrong, you're going to find the root of that problem. Until you're a leader and you find the root, you can't pull the root out. Because if you don't pull the root out, the tree grows back.
That's right.
But if you get the root out underneath the surface of what you see, it's called discernment, then you can rip the root out. Now you can start putting new habits into them.
That's right. That's right. Yes, sir.
Then they can find a different way of thinking, different behaviors, different results. It all happens from changing their belief system, the way they think.
That's
so
right. Everybody
that's listening as a leader, quit thinking about, I have to change this person. Stop and say, I just have to tweak their thinking a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to do heart and brain surgery on any human, but you can touch their heart. Let them know you care by showing them, not by telling them, and just tweak how they think a little bit.
That's right.
And give them space and give them time. All right, Coach, who is your unsung hero?
For me, I speak a lot about family, and it would have to be my grandfather. Just a hard worker, a man that has very little education. But I'll tell you a funny story about him. Never probably made over $20,000 a year in his life. But when people needed to go to school, when people needed help financially, he was who they went to, and he always delivered. And he would always tell me, it's not what you make, it's what you do with what you make. and it's how you carry yourself where people will give you favor sometimes. He's very big on treating everybody with respect. I remember 10 years ago when I got this job, he used to cut pine trees on this campus. And
In Pineville, Louisiana?
In Pineville, Louisiana. He lives in Simsboro, Louisiana, and which is probably about an hour, 15 minutes from here. And when I got this job here, he said to me, "Don't embarrass me." Now, there's probably nobody here that knows my grandfather. My grandfather worked here back in the late 60s, early 70s. But in his mind, he paved the way for me to be here because of how he behaved when he worked on this campus. And so I've always been grateful for him and the wisdom that he shared of living a simple life, respecting people, having integrity, giving more than you wanted to receive, and being selfless at all costs.
Okay, Coach. I always talk about it's big to understand the personality and the life experiences of a person. For your grandfather, what year was he born?
1933.
Right. Wow. I can't even imagine what your grandfather's been through, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Man, I just can't even grab it. And he came out of that. And I'm sure there were some ugly, ugly things done to him and his family.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt.
There's no doubt. And he came out of that, and he's winning through adversity with respect, integrity, giving, and being selfless. And he's got every reason to cry foul.
There's no doubt.
He's got every reason to cry foul.
Won't do it.
But why didn't he do it? Why didn't he cry foul?
I truly believe as I've gotten older and I've talked to him, there was so much destruction and cruelty going on in the world. He found the safest things that he could appreciate, and that was being grateful just to be alive. He'd seen so much where people didn't make it. He saw so much poverty. He saw so much sickness of where people couldn't get medicines to save their lives, that he was grateful to be alive. And he decided that he would not allow the world and its systems and the way things were to distract from what God had given him, which was life. And even today, I called him probably about a week ago.
So he's still alive?
Yes, sir. He's still alive.
How old is he now?
Granddaddy is 90. He's
okay,
90.
Wow. Okay.
So called him, maybe he'll turn 91 or 92 in March. So Granddaddy said to me, I hadn't talked to him in about 4 or 5 weeks. He said to me, he said, "Does your phone work?" I said, "Yes, sir, it does." He said, well, it sure hasn't rung in my house in a while. Point is, relationships matter. Me knowing that you're okay is the very least you can do for me, because it lets me know that everybody in my circle is okay.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Granddad got a little
he's
get on
spunky.
Coach a little bit.
Yeah, he's a little spunky now.
Yeah.
but he's we lost my grandmother back in 2018, and so it's really placed a bigger emphasis on life and relationships with him. But hey, man, I tell people this all the time. Oftentimes, our lack of success in life is not caused by things around us. It's caused by what we're not willing to do. And I fall in that category. If by some chance Reni Mason was unsuccessful in life, he didn't have anybody to blame but himself.
Look, our lack of success is caused by what we're not willing to do.
Amen.
If that's not a domino effect,
yes,
for everybody that's a living and breathing is sure this problem. Your success is based upon what you do.
That's right.
That doesn't mean you're going to get to where you want to go, but man, if you'll take that personal accountability, because your granddad took personal responsibility when he had every reason to stop and cry.
That's right.
And I'm sure he did a lot of crying, but man, did he do a lot of growing.
Yes.
He did a lot of growing, because he looked at his enemy and said, You don't know who I am. I'm a child of God. You
Yeah.
don't have any authority over me. You're my enemy. You have no authority over me. You
That's
don't
right.
rob me of who God's created me to be.
That's right.
That's right.
That's
And
right.
someone needs to hear that. You are who you are. Be proud of who you are. Get better than what you are. Honor people. If you know what to do, just be grateful for who you are and just start honoring people. And I guarantee something will change. It'll change in your environment. It'll change in your personal life. Everything will change. That's what you're telling me your grandfather did through the miserable things that he went through as a child and as
That's
an
right.
adult.
That's right.
Because you've said a lot of words on habits and daily habits and
Yes.
gratitude and honoring. Those are all key words that'll take you to another level.
That's right.
It makes no sense, even when I say it makes no sense to me. But if I hadn't put those things into play in my life, I'd be a train wreck right now. As my wife would say, you're still a train wreck. You're just on the track, though.
Stephanie probably would say the same thing too.
Okay, so about 12 years ago, you told me something that changed my life, and I use in my coaching, my speaking, and it's a phrase that really helped me stop being a volcano. Because I tell everybody my life transformation story is from a volcano to a missile. A volcano's got a lot of energy and explodes, but it has no purpose in that explosion.
Right.
It's about me, and it kills trees, vegetation, relationships, bosses, and all those opportunities that you had. But in that transformation state into a missile, see, it's got a lot of programmers to it. It's got a lot of people working on it. Then there's a maker that tells it what to do and how to get there and what the purpose of that energy
That's
is.
right. That's right.
Okay. So, and you dropped one of those nuggets. So you were building on that missile. And the piece that you put in that missile was correction without a relationship equal rebellion.
Amen.
I'm going to say that again because everybody needs to write this down. Correction without a relationship equal rebellion. And my boys were probably 14 or 15 in that range. And I looked at you and you said, are you trying to tell me something?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you knew what my type of behavior was with my kids or not. You just looked at me and said, well, you gotta figure that out.
That's right. That's right.
Where did you get that from? Who told you that? Just expound on that a little bit.
I've had that with me for a long time. And to be honest with you, I don't remember where it came from. But what I realized when I first got in coaching, relationships are everything. So much comes out of having a relationship. There's forgiveness in relationships. There's favor in relationships. There's love in relationships. And one of the things that relationships, even with you and I being on this call today, it's relationship. It's relationship. There are things that I know about you. There are things that you know about me that only we know.
That's right.
But it's because of the relationships. Well, one of the things I know, if I had to make a strong statement to Mr. Taylor today, and it didn't feel good to Mr. Taylor, well, because Mr. Taylor knows my heart and knows how I feel about him, he probably would take a look at it and say, hey, I need to go look at this, because he wouldn't have said it if it wasn't something I need to pay attention to. But if I had no relationship with Mr. Taylor, or Mr. Taylor had no relationship with Coach Mason, because of our personalities, we probably could go 0 to 10 in a hurry. And that's the rebellion stage.
That's right.
Pride, ego, all those type things. And so even with those young men, as I shared with you off air, that we had to put out of practice this morning, I've got to come back and build on our relationship so they understand the care, the concern. And here's the other part that I've added to that, the why. I've got to give you purpose in why we do what we do. Because in purpose, now you don't even have to understand what's going on. You just need to know that there's a plan. And so that's the biggest thing in learning those things, because anytime, let's use my mother. Everyone doesn't have a great relationship with their mother. But because of my relationship with my mother, my ear tends to bend towards her correction a little different. And even at 53 years old, if that phone rings and it's my mother and she has a word to give, because of the relationship, sometimes in that phone call, there's correction. At 53, there's correction. And so I pay attention to that. And we've gotten fruit from that, because I also believe God is about relationships.
There's no
And
doubt.
anytime we're putting in the ingredients that God uses, we're going to have an opportunity.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, that's good. So, Coach, how do you take another step when you get stuck?
I got to go back to the basics, right? Like last year, this is not about games. This was about Coach Mason and what he had fought. There's a trap that we can fall in sometimes. Sometimes we can experience success so much that we forget what got us there. And then we become complacent. A year ago, we were 5-22, buddy. I lost 7, 8 games in the last 3 minutes by a combined 18 points. And I'm talking about I was hurting. I'm talking about the competitor in me had fire in my belly the wrong way. And I can go through all the statistics. I can go through all of the blaming. I need better players. I need a better staff. I need better facilities. But the reality, buddy, is I needed to look right here.
Mm-hmm.
What are you not doing as a leader that you've done in the past that caused there to be some kind of change that leads to success? And so one of the things I did is I went back to the basics. I went back to what we'd done in the past that caused us to be successful. 1 + 1 is always 2. I don't care how you try to make it 3 or how you try to make it something else. 1 + 1 is 2. And so when Coach Mason gets stuck, he goes introspective and he looks at the guy in the mirror. And if I need to raise my hand to say I need some help, I've got to be big enough to do that also.
Oh, that's good. Woo.
And
Yeah,
so
that's
that's just kind of what we do. And here's the thing, for those that are listening to this podcast, you don't always get it right. But you've got to be willing to raise your hand and say, hey, I've screwed this up and I need some help to get back on the track.
That's so
Because what God leads us to, he equips us to be able to get through it, right? But I've got to be able to assess and address myself in order to continue on this train.
Yeah, I just picked up a domino, Coach, that I need some help.
Yes.
You know, so everybody doesn't know my story. So we started a trucking company. We went from 0 to about $20 million in 4.5 years, like a rocket. And we came out of the sky like a daggone comet in the 7th year. So that didn't work out. So the number one reason of me doing introspective, looking in the mirror, it's your fault. It took me 12 months to get to that point where I had enough strength to say it's your fault.
Mm-hmm.
Now, once I did that, now I can sit and think, now, what did you learn?
There you go.
What did you learn? So I wrote down 8 things that I learned in my business failure. And the number one reason that I failed was a spiritual issue.
Mm.
Plans fail due to lack of counsel, but plans succeed due to many advisors.
I like that.
This has been the most common thing. This is our 35th episode of the Leadership Factory podcast. This is the most common thing is finding mentors in your life.
Yes.
You've got to get advisors built around you that can hold you accountable, can see little things that you can't see, that they can just tell you about it. You can tweak it a little bit. But if you don't trust them, you won't listen to them.
That's right.
It's just like when your mom would tell you you're doing something wrong, you would lend an ear to. You didn't take it at that point.
That's right.
Because my mom told me something. We went on, make a long story short, of kind of a family sibling vacation with a bunch of old people. And she said something to me, made me really mad. But she didn't see my mad internally. But, you know, after 30 minutes, I thought about it. She's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
She can see, she knows who I am. She knows the good, she knows the bad, and she knows the ugly about me.
All right. The reality is you've got to get to a point in your life where you either win or you learn. You never lose.
Coach.
You never lose. You never lose.
Boy, there's a good title, Coach. Win or learn. Someone needs to write that down.
That's
Somebody
it.
write that down. Hey, Coach, what would you tell your 21-year-old self?
Patience. Patience. You're not going to get it all in one day. Think of tomorrow because it's coming. Allow yourself to grow at the pace that you need to grow. And I want to go back to what you just said. Find guys that have already done, or ladies that have already done what you hope to accomplish. I remember you walking up to my truck one day, and this is what you said. I was going through a trying time where we were, and I knew the rubber had met the road, so to speak. And you said to me, what do you want to do in 5 years? 5 years from now, what do you want to do? And you said, give me 1, 2, 3. I'll never forget this. You had, for a point of reference, you had a gold Toyota hybrid. It was a Camry.
Right. That's right. That's
I
exactly right.
I remember that.
My goal was to save gas money. So,
and I listed these things out to you, and you said, pin them on your heart. Pin them on your heart is what you said to me. And I put those things in my pocket. And little did people know, that's what I began to believe for. And I wish I would have known that about that time. I was probably 33, 34 years old. If I had done that 13 years earlier, I would have progressed in a different way. And so I would tell that 21-year-old, seek good counsel for what you want to accomplish.
If that's not a domino effect, that can take you far right there. That domino can knock the rest of the dominoes down. Ain't no about it. My favorite question, and this is the ending question, Coach, what is your winning edge? What makes you special? What's your special sauce, or what's your superpower?
I think it's letting people know I care. I think it's I can't do this, I can't do that, but I can care. And we can figure things out if we care about each other. The most important thing I think that's not in our society today is caring about each other. Because if we care about each other, we'll shut up sometimes. If we care about each other, we'll give a hand. We'll share what we have with other people to help them progress in their lives. If I had to write one line about Coach Mason, or they always ask the question, what would you like to be remembered by? He always cared.
Is that what you want on your hyphen?
That's
on
it.
Your headstone?
That's it. He always cared. And the reality of it is this. Because of the successes or the things that I've been able to be a part of in life, I've sat with people here and I've fed people here. But in reality, we're all the same people. We're just at different stages. And so why should we be treated any different because we're at different stages? And that's what I hope I've done with people around me.
That's good. I like that right there. That could be the title of this podcast, Coach. He always cared. So
yes.
I've got like 20 titles. My job is to take notes and writing titles down.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Which are really just little tidbits, nuggets of information.
Yeah.
And I hope everybody that's listening to this podcast has got a whole list of nuggets of nuggets that you dropped on them and wisdom. And right now I'm wanting everybody to think about what's that one thing out of all those things you heard from Coach Mason, what's that one thing that can catapult you? You can set that domino down and you can knock the rest of the dominoes down, which is your challenges, your struggles, your doubts, and your fears. What's that one thing that you got from Coach Mason today? Write that down. Share that with your immediate supervisor. Share it with a friend. Share it with a leadership coach. And, hey, this is the one thing I want to work on. Because once you conquer that one thing, it'll knock the rest of them down.
Amen. Amen.
Amen to that. So, Coach Mason, I am very honored and very thankful that you joined us today on the Leadership Factory podcast. Go win a bunch of ball games this year, Coach.
Thank you, man.
I know your heart's going to be in every one of them. Just keep being who you are, keep growing, and keep listening to Granddad.
All right, man. Thank you so much.
And I've got a new unsung hero too. He's right next to my mom and all of other people, but he's right there with my mom right now.
Yeah, good.
Because I'm just wanting to honor you, that you've seen what your grandfathers went through,
yes,
and you're making a difference. And he's empowered you to make a difference, and you do make a difference, because I've seen the difference that you made. And my prayer for you today is you just continue on that journey of letting people know that you care.
Amen. I appreciate you. I love you, brother.
Love you, buddy. Hey, thank you all. Thanks for everybody for joining. Good job, everybody.
Yes.
All right. Amen. Let's grow.
See you, buddy.